Hello everyone, welcome to the second part of representation and description. In this presentation, we will cover regional descriptors, topological descriptors, use of principal components for description, and relational descriptors. Regional descriptors. The area of region is defined as the number of pixels in the region. The perimeter of a region is the length of its boundary. Although area and perimeter are sometimes used as descriptors, they apply primarily to situations in which the size of the region of interest is invariant. A more frequent use of these two descriptors is in measuring compactness of a region defined as perimeter square divided by area. Compactness is a dimensionless quantity and thus is insensitive to uniform scale changes and is minimal for a disk-shaped region. With the exception of errors introduced by rotation of a digital region, compactness also is insensitive to orientation. Other simple measures used as region descriptors include the mean and median of the gray levels, the minimum and maximum gray level values, and the number of pixels with values above and below the mean. Even a simple region descriptor such as normalized area can be quite useful in extracting information from images. Topological descriptors. Topological properties are useful for global descriptions of regions in the image plane. Topology is the study of properties of a figure that are unaffected by any deformation as long as there is no tearing or joining of the figure. Sometimes these are also called rubber sheet distortion. For example, figure 5 shows a region with two holes. Thus, if a topological descriptor is defined by the number of holes in the region, this property obviously will not be affected by a stretching or rotation transformation. However, the number of holes will change if the region is torn or flooded. As stretching affects distance, topological properties do not depend on the notion of distance or any properties implicitly based on the concept of a distance measure. Another topological property useful for region description is the number of connected components. The number of holes H and connected component C in figure can be used to define the Euler number E, that is E is equal to C minus H. The Euler number is also a topological property. The regions shown in figure, for example, have Euler numbers equal to 0 and minus 1 respectively because the A has one connected component and one hole and the B one connected component but two holes. Regions represented by straight line segments referred to as polygonal networks have a particular simple interpretation in terms of Euler number. Figure 8 shows a polygonal network. Classifying interior regions of such a network into faces and holes often is important. Denoting the number of vertices by V, the number of edges by Q, and the number of faces by F gives the following relationship called the Euler formula. V minus Q plus F is equal to C minus H, which is equal to the Euler number E. The network shown in figure 8 has 7 vertices, 11 edges, 2 faces, 1 connected region and 3 holes. Thus, the Euler number is minus 2. That is 7 minus 11 plus 2 is equal to 1 minus 3, which is equal to minus 2. Topological descriptors provide an additional feature that is often useful in characterizing regions in a scene. Use of principal components for description. Principal components are applicable to boundaries and regions. Also, it can be used as the basis for describing sets of images that are registered spatially but whose corresponding pixel values are different. For example, the three component images of a color RGB image. Suppose that we are given the three component images of such color image. The three images can be treated as a unit by expressing each group of three corresponding pixels as a vector. For example, let x1, x2 and x3 respectively be the values of the first pixel in each of these three images. These three elements can be expressed in the form of a 3D column vector x where x equal to x1, x2, x3. This one vector represents a common pixel in all three images. If the images are of size m by n, there will be a total of k equal to mn three-dimensional vectors after all the pixels are represented in this manner. If we have n registered images, the vectors will be n-dimensional, that is x equal to x1, x2 up to xn. We are considering that all vectors are column vectors, that is matrices of order n by 1. We can write them on a single line of text simply by expressing them as x equal to x transpose of x1, x2 up to xn, where t indicates the transpose. We can treat the vectors as random quantities just like we did when constructing a gray level histogram. The only difference is that instead of talking about quantities like the mean and variance of the random variables, we now talk about mean vectors and covariance matrices of the random vectors. The mean vector of the population is defined as mx equal to expected value of x, where ex is the expected value of the argument and the subscript denotes that m is associated with the population of x vectors. The expected value of vector or matrix is obtained by taking the expected value of each element. The covariance matrix of the vector population is defined as Cx equal to expected value of x minus mx into x minus mx transpose. Because x is n-dimensional, Cx and expected value of x minus mx into transpose of x minus mx are matrices of order n by n. Element Cii of Cx is the variance of xi, the ith component of the x vectors in population, and the element Cij of Cx is the covariance between elements xi and xj of these vectors. The matrix Cx is real and symmetric. If elements xi and xj are uncorrelated, their covariance is 0 and therefore Cij is equal to Cji is equal to 0. All these definitions reduce to their familiar one-dimensional counterparts when n equal to 1. For k vector samples from a random population, the mean vector can be approximated from the samples by using the familiar averaging expression, that is mx equal to 1 upon k into summation of xk for k equal to 1 to k. Similarly, by expanding the product x minus mx into transpose of x minus mx and using equations b and d, we would find the covariance matrix can be approximated from the samples as follows, that is Cx equal to 1 upon k into summation of xk into transpose of xk minus mx into transpose of mx for k equal to 1 to k. To illustrate the mechanics of equation E and F, consider the four vectors, that is x1 equal to transpose of 0 0 0, x2 equal to transpose of 1 0 0, x3 equal to transpose of 1 1 0, and x4 equal to transpose of 1 0 1, where the transpose is used so that column vectors may be conveniently written horizontally on a line of text. Applying equation E yields the following mean vector, that is mx equal to 1 upon 4 into matrix with 3 1 1. Similarly, use of equation F yields the following covariance matrix, that is Cx equal to 1 upon 16 into the matrix 3 1 1 1 3 minus 1 1 minus 1 3. All the elements along the main diagonal are equal, which indicates that the three components of the vectors in the population have the same variance. Also, elements x1 and x2 as well as x1 and x3 are positively correlated. Elements x2 and x3 are negatively correlated. Because Cx is real and symmetric, finding a set of n orthonormal eigenvectors always is possible. Let ei and lambda I for I equal to 1 to n be the eigenvectors and corresponding eigenvalues of Cx arranged in descending order so that lambda j is greater than or equal to lambda j plus 1 for j equal to 1 to up to n minus 1. Let A is a matrix whose rows are formed from the eigenvectors of Cx ordered so that the first row of A is the eigenvector corresponding to the largest eigenvalue and the last row is the eigenvector corresponding to the smallest eigenvalue. Suppose that we use A as a transformation matrix to map the x into vectors denoted by y's as follows, that is y equal to A into x minus mx. This expression is called Hotelling transform, which, as will be shown shortly, has some interesting and useful properties. It is not difficult to show that the mean of y vectors resulting from this transformation is 0. That is, my is equal to expectation of y, which is equal to 0. It follows from basic matrix theory that the covariance matrix of y's is given in terms of A and Cx by the expression Cy is equal to A into Cx into transpose of A. Furthermore, because of the way A was formed, Cy is a diagonal matrix whose elements along the main diagonal are the eigenvalues of Cx as shown here in equation L. The off-diagonal elements of this covariance matrix are 0, so the elements of the y vectors are uncorrelated. Keep in mind that the lambda j's are the eigenvalues of Cx and that the elements along the main diagonal of diagonal matrix are its eigenvalues. Thus, Cx and Cy have the same eigenvalues. In fact, the same is true for the eigenvectors. Another important property of the Hotelling transform deals with the reconstruction of x from y. Because the rows of A are orthonormal vectors, it follows that inverse of A is equal to transpose of A, and any vector x can be recovered from its corresponding y by using the expression x equal to transpose of A into y plus mx. Suppose, however, that instead of using all the eigenvectors of Cx, we form matrix A from the k eigenvectors corresponding to the k largest eigenvalues, yielding transformation matrix of order k by n. The y vectors would then be k dimensional and the reconstruction given in equation M would no longer be exact. The vector reconstructed by using AK is x cap is equal to transpose of ak into y plus mx, it can be shown that the mean square error between x and is given by the expression EMS equal to summation of lambda j minus summation of lambda j for j equal to 1 to n and for j equal to 1 to k. The first line of the above equation indicates that the error is 0 if k is equal to n. That is, if all the eigenvectors are used in the transformation. Because the lambda j's decrease monotonically, above equation also shows that the error can be minimized by selecting the k eigenvectors associated with the largest eigenvalues. Thus, the Hotelling transform is optimal in the sense that it minimizes the mean square error between the vectors x and their approximations. Due to this idea of using the eigenvectors corresponding to the largest eigenvalues, the Hotelling transform also is known as the principal component transform. Here, this figure shows 6 images generated by 6-band multispectral scanner operating in the wavelengths as shown in table 1. Here, figure shows 6 spectral images from the airborne scanner, whereas table 1 shows channel numbers and wavelengths. Seeing the images as shown in figure 12 allows formation of a 6-dimensional vector x equal to transpose of x1, x2 up to x6 from each set of corresponding pixels in the images as discussed at the beginning of this section. The images in this particular application are of resolution 384 into 239, so the population consists of 91,776 vectors from which to compute the mean vector and covariance matrix. Figure 12 is the formation of vector from corresponding pixels in 6 images. Relational descriptors. In this section, we expand that concept in the context of relational descriptors. These apply equally well to the boundaries or regions, and their main purpose is to capture in the form of rewriting rules basic repetitive patterns in the boundary or region. Consider the simple staircase structure as shown in figure 13a. Assume that this structure has been segmented out of an image and that we want to describe it in some formal way. Figure A here is the simple staircase structure and figure B is the coded structure. By defining the two primitive elements A and B shown, we may code figure 13a in the form shown in figure 13b. The most obvious property of the coded structure is the repetitiveness of the elements A and B. Therefore, a simple description approach is to formulate a recursive relationship involving these primitive elements. One possibility is to use the rewriting rules S equal to A into A, B equal to BS and A equal to B, where S and A are the variables and the elements A and B are constants corresponding to primitives just defined. Rule 1 indicates that S, called the starting symbol, can be replaced by primitive A and variable A. This variable in turn can be replaced by B and S or by B alone. Replacing A with BS leads back to the first rule and the procedure can be repeated. Replacing A with B terminates the procedure because no variables remain in the expression. Figure 14 illustrates some sample derivations of these rules where the numbers below the structures represent the order in which rules 1, 2 and 3 were applied. The relationship between A and B is preserved because these rules force an A always to be followed by AB. These three simple rewriting rules can be used to generate or describe infinitely many similar structures. This approach also has the advantage of a solid theoretical foundation. Because strings are one-dimensional structures, their application to image description requires establishing an appropriate method for reducing two-dimensional positional relations to one-dimensional form. Most applications of strings to image description are based on the idea of extracting connected line segments from the objects of interest. One approach is to follow the contour of an object and code the result with segments of specified direction and or length. Figure 15 illustrates this procedure. Here figure 15 is the coding a region boundary with directed line segments. Another somewhat more general approach is to describe sections of an image, such as small homogeneous regions, by directed line segments which can be joined in other ways besides head to tail connections. Figure A illustrates this approach and figure B shows some typical operations that can be defined on abstracted primitives. Figure E shows a set of specific primitives consisting of line segments defined in four directions, and figure D shows a step-by-step generation of a specific shape where complement D indicates that the primitive D with its direction reversed. The result of interest is the last string which describes the complete structure. String descriptions are the best suited for applications in which connectivity of primitives can be expressed in a head-to-tail or other continuous manner. Sometimes regions that are similar in terms of texture or other descriptor may not be contiguous, and techniques are required for describing such situations. One of the most useful approach for doing so is to use tree descriptors. A tree T is a finite set of one or more nodes for which there is a unique node dollar designated the root, and the remaining nodes are partitioned into m disjointed sets T1, T2 up to Tm, each of which in turn is a tree called a subtree of T. The tree frontier is the set of nodes at the bottom of the tree, the leaves taken in order from left to right. For example, the tree shown in this figure has root, dollar, and frontier xy. Generally, two types of information in the tree are important. Number one, information about a node stored as a set of words describing the node. And number two, information relating a node to its neighbors stored as a set of pointers to those neighbors. As used in image description, the first type of information identifies an image substructure, that is, for example, region or boundary segments, whereas the second type defines the physical relationship of that substructure to other substructures. Here is the end of this session. Thank you.